Welcome back to Small Engines Galore, where today we're reviving Beast 1. This is the second part, so this is supposed to be a two-part series, but it's going to be more than that because I have future upgrades I want to do to it. But just to get it going, it's going to be a two-part series. So let's get into part 2 right now. So here it is in the messy garage. I know I have to clean up really bad, but what we're doing in the last video was we dropped the engine in. We still have to hook the pulley system up and everything underneath. The engine is just physically in, and the steering is in, mostly. We still need to find another steering support for this because Elliot robbed it for off-road machine. And I have to find a bolt that goes through the axle that's the correct length because the other one's too short. So it allows the front axle to tweak. Like, we'll see if we can get it to do it. Don't know if you can see it moving, maybe not, but anyways, we're gonna find another steering support for this, and then we're gonna be able to drive it like this. And in this video, what we're doing is we're putting this transaxle out of Ugly JD. We're putting this transaxle in this frame, but to get this transaxle to bolt into this frame, we're gonna need to build some custom mounts and some shifter linkage possibly, but we're not going to worry about brakes this time because in future upgrades I want to upgrade to the Peerless 930 with locker in it. So we're going to use this transaxle temporarily. It's not permanent. So any of you that want to see Ugly JD get finished, don't worry. Maybe it'll get finished with this transaxle in it. And yeah, let's get into it. Oh yeah, also I lost your tripod for your camera, so I'm gonna have to find that one of these days. But for right now, your camera's just gonna be leaned up against random stuff. Who knows what it'll be leaned up against. Just so we can get a view like that, so I can work on this thing while it's on camera. Alright, so in case you guys were wondering, this is the LT1000 project. I'm gonna go ahead and take these mounts from it so that we can use it in the Beast 1 build. Or we will replenish these mounts with ones of that LT or that LT. Also, we'll end up probably stealing this fuel system for it. I'm gonna have to find a tank though. Alright guys, hopefully you can see. So hopefully this video isn't so boring that you've already gone to a different video. But if you're still here, thank you for continuing watching. Okay, so how these mounts go, these are just basically just L brackets, and there are a bunch of holes on the side of the frame that they bolt into. Let me show you. Okay, so those holes that you want to use, there's a bunch in this, and there's a bunch right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this bolt out and just go like that. Bolt it in, one here. Oh, hold on. No. One here, one here, one here. This is for a different bolt of some sort. And then we'll bolt this in, put two more here, and we'll be good. Maybe we'll just put one more here. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you would do. If you would put all the bolts in, then good for you. I'm not. Okay, so now that these things are just loosely hanging here, you can see they're not bolted down. We're gonna go ahead and measure. Actually, we're gonna take one of them U-bolts out and just see if we can get it to center in here. We can mark two holes, take this back off, drill the holes, mark it on this mount, drill the holes again. I think somewhere in the center here and here. And then we can bolt them all up and the transaxle will bolt in physically. And then we can work on shifter. Alright folks, so it looks like the U-bolt is about as wide as from this to this, the marks on here, and it is basically exactly the same width, just a little tiny bit wider than the frame. So we're gonna cut holes with this drill press right here and right there, basically as close to those as we can. So let's get into it. Alright folks, so your camera is about to go dead, but hopefully this U-bolt fits through these holes. Let's go ahead and test fit. Alright folks, take a look. this is through. So now, once we get the other one done, we can bolt this all into the frame, and we can bolt this transaxle up. Alright guys, finally got the second one done. It was a little bit of a pain. I had to drill the holes a little bit bigger because they were not quite centered. But it's through, so let's go ahead and bolt this up in the mower. Oh yeah guys, also I was wrong. We're not using these front holes. We're using that hole and this hole where the trailer pan goes. There's supposed to be a bolt that goes through here that's that size, but this one's missing, so I just stuck this bolt in. There's also supposed to be one down here that I may end up putting in the future. We'll see. Let's get the other side bolted up. Okay, so the mounts are on the frame. You can see it right there. We're going to slide this transaxle underneath it and actually bolt it up for real this time. Okay, so I think my measurements are correct. That bolt hole's lined up. So is it on this side. Still have to push the U-bolt down, but it should pop out right down there. Alright folks, I just noticed something. This is actually mounted crooked. Guess what? I do not care. Actually, I do care, so when I mount the 930, it'll be straight. But for the time being, this can be a little bit crooked. Again, it's temporary, so it can't be that bad, can it? Alright folks, here's our transaxle mounted in the frame. I know, take a look. It's not quite right, but it's skinnier in the back than the front by a fair amount. I'm gonna put wider offset wheels on the back, I think. Maybe we'll bolt up some car wheels. What do you think? I mean, they are 3 on 4.5, so we can bolt any 5 on 4.5 wheel we want on here. Maybe that's what we'll do. Let's see how it goes. But before we put any bigger tires on, we are gonna have to worry about shifter. So this one right here is being a pain to come off, so I'm gonna just hook underneath it with a pry bar and probably just step on it. Let's see. Got it off. Let's go ahead and try to hook our factory shifter up to there. So the shifter plate didn't line up. I ended up screwing up this cotter pin. I'm just gonna have to cut them or something. Then the shifter plate will bolt up, and then we can bolt the shifter up separately. Right now it sits backwards from where it needs to be. Oh man guys, that cotter pin probably took me 20 minutes, but here it is out. Let's bolt it up. Alright, welcome back guys. This is part 2 of rebuilding Beast 1 in case somehow I forgot about this. I thought it was part 3 for a minute. Anyways, here's part 2. So far we have engine hooked up, front axle hooked up, transaxle bolted in, and while your guys' camera was charging it was at 1%, so I went ahead and plugged it in. While you guys were waiting, I built this fuel line that goes down underneath the frame. I hooked up the throttle, which is that pedal right there, and I stuck the fenders on. Or I didn't really bolt the fenders on, but the running boards are bolted on. Fenders are just sitting on an LT1000 tank that might work, but probably have to find a different tank. I want to make this a rear tank so I can mount my battery in here somewhere. Only because I don't have a front tank right now. Okay. Also, these are 18s on the back. They have a huge amount of tire clearance. So I went ahead and tried to find some car wheels that would bolt up. 5 on 4.5. Here's these 15s with 24-inch tall tires on them. I like how it looks, sort of. The fender is supposed to come down with the LT1000 tank out. Let me show you. So yeah, here's a better view of that rear tire. This one was originally a 215 60-15, and it's pretty bald right now, but you can see there is clearance in here all the way around, and if you spin it, it doesn't rub on anything. So we're probably going to be running these tires for a bit first. And just to give you an idea, there's the 18, there's the 24. I'm only guessing at 24 inches is all. Just guessing by that a 25 rubs and a 24 doesn't. So yeah, there's the other one over there. We're just gonna bolt it up to this side, and we're gonna get a better fuel system because that tank is way too big. we gotta find a better fuel system to hook up to the line. But the line does go all the way back to here. Then I'll put a quick pin in the shifter, and we will bolt these fenders down properly through those 2 bolts and hook a seat up in here, and that's about it. Alright folks, so I might just steal the fuel tank out of Beast 2 for now, and we'll just hook up the line. I'll just keep this extra line so I can be like Smokey Eunuch and just run 30 times the fuel capacity of everybody else. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this wheel on all the way again, and then we're gonna work on bolting the fender down, putting a seat on it, hooking up wiring, dumping some fuel in the tank, and hooking up the exhaust bolts properly, because I don't have exhaust bolts. I gotta find some. And then I gotta replace that bolt still. And then I think we can run it, but it'll be probably a couple hours of work. Maybe less than that, depending on if I am really cranky and tired or not. Maybe not though. Maybe it'll be a lot less time. Anyways, whatever, let's get to it. Alright folks, we just went ahead and tightened that bolt. I was just drilling a hole for the choke cable. So yeah, there we go, our choke cable is gonna come out right there. So yeah folks, there's our choke cable. It's just gonna be right underneath our kill switch, so we can just pull that and it'll choke. Push that in, it'll not choke. There's our kill switch. And yeah, we'll hook up everything in a minute. Okay, so now that our choke cable is hooked up, that's that one over there, we're gonna bolt down these fenders. And also I'm gonna go steal the fuel tank out of Beast 2, because it's gonna get a better one later anyways. It's not your hat, that's my steering wheel. And yeah, we have to find a nut for that steering wheel. Not sure where we're gonna find one of those, but we also have to find a column support. There's still a bunch of stuff to do on this actually. That's the seat I think we're gonna be running on it too, by the way. We'll see. So yeah, there's the Beast 2 fuel tank, just test fitting it in. By the way, if you're trying to fit an opposed twin and this fuel tank in with this dash, you're gonna have to loosen off the top mounting bolts to move the dash backwards to stick your fuel tank in, otherwise it's a real big pain. And this one, because I was really stupid at one point, I ran that down with a hammer so it doesn't come out. And it doesn't loosen off either. All the threads are wrecked. So, why are you kicking my tractor?
Fix it!
No, you're not. You're not fixing it. Anyways, so you're gonna have to really struggle with this, or you're gonna loosen your dash off, pull it back, shove it in. Bolt your dash back down though, because if you lose the bolts, then it just super rickety. Just
and you'll have to unbolt it to get the fuel tank out as well.
Yes, you'll have to unbolt it to get the fuel tank out as well. Anyways, let's get to what were we gonna do in the last clip? Bolt the fender down. Right. Alright guys, here's the fender bolted up. I bolted up these Craftsman seat springs. They're equivalent to what would have originally come on it. You can see fender's bolted on. That sound you're hearing is the bolt that goes between the running board and this one that's not happy with being in that hole. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and bolt the seat on and then hook up the electrical. Get the proper bolt for that front axle. I can't forget that. Maybe I'll just do that next. Fix that front axle, get a belt system, get a steering support, bolt up the steering wheel. Maybe go? I don't know. We'll see. Alright guys, this seat is off of a 2014 John Deere D140 that we parted out, and sold all the parts way too cheap. So now we're going to take this thing and we're going to find longer bolts to go between here and here and here and here. They will hook up to this bracket, hopefully, or maybe I'll just drill new holes for these brackets that are existing. That might be a better idea. Let's just try it with just sticking that on there, see what the width is, and maybe we'll have to just drill new holes like right there. We'll see. Okay, here's the seat sitting on the fender. It looks like underneath here, there should be a way to bolt it up through a hole. And by the way, I don't like this very much because it says John Deere on the back, but whatever, we'll just use it for now. We'll find a Craftsman seat later, don't worry. So yeah, there's another bolt down here we gotta do. That's your seat adjuster, just in case you were wondering. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and fix that. We're gonna go ahead and drill holes, and I'll see you then. All right, folks, here's a hole that I drilled, and here's another hole that I drilled. Hopefully it'll work, but first I gotta take this bracket off, which is 2 half-inch head bolts. One of these bolts doesn't want to come out. I'm gonna have to either use the impact on it or stick more leverage on that ratchet, which I don't want to break, because that's my dad's favorite one. So hopefully we can just get this one out easy. Like, it looks loose, right? I don't know, I'll have to get it out. Alright, whatever, I really don't care. That thing looks like it has red Loctite on it. I don't know why anybody would put red Loctite on just this bolt. But yeah, red Loctite is impact territory only. No wonder this wrench was bending when I was using it as leverage. Actually, you know what's really stupid of me? I forgot that is touching, so we're gonna have to use a different seat anyways. Alright guys, sun is just going down right now, but you might be able to see I have that Craftsman seat, which is destroyed. I have that Craftsman seat, which sits way too much of an angle. It sits like tilted you way back. I have this John Deere seat, and I have another Craftsman seat underneath it that is in worse condition than that one. So what should I run on this thing? Oh yeah, I also have that seat right there that is also destroyed. And that seat, which is out of a Dodge Ram and is way too big. But this one could be good. That's it for today. I'm coming back tomorrow. Alright guys, so when we left off on this thing yesterday, we found out that this John Deere seat would possibly work on that. To get this seat to work, we're gonna have to drill a hole in each of these panels. I suspect one about here and one about here. That one's already started, but I have to find a smaller drill bit than this because this is way too big and it takes a long time to drill with just that super blunt point. So I have to find a smaller drill bit and drill through there, drill through with the bigger one. Hopefully it lines up with like this hole or that hole or that hole or one of these holes. I took the springs out of this because this already has basically its own built-in spring. So yeah, but it's a good thing for right now that we don't have this completely done yet, because if we need to do a roll test on this thing just to be sure. The tires did clear the fenders and everything when they were on the when it was up on jack stands, but they were also hanging, so maybe for some reason it will sunk up into the fender. I don't know, we'll see. Let's just go ahead and pull this thing back and we'll see what happens. Okay, let's go ahead and do a roll test. We're just gonna push this thing forward and we'll see if these tires rub or not. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna grab it by the steering wheel, push it. I don't hear it rubbing. Now I'm gonna pull it backwards. Or not. Forgot that the steering wheel wasn't bolted up. Grab it from here. I also don't hear it rubbing there, so I think we're good. And remember that this fender is actually on its bracket, like it's not sinking any further down than it is right now, so it's not gonna rub even with the seat on it and even with my weight on it. It's not gonna rub. Oh yeah, also I found your tripod, this one right here. So yeah, we can use it now. But speaking of steering, I need to find a support for this one still, because it has way too much movement. Like if I try to turn this one direction, it'll just spin up, and the other direction it sort of turns, but it has a ton of play that way. So it needs to be up here like this. And I need to find that bolt for the front axle. Let me show you what I have in there right now. So this is just a 5/16 thread 1/2 inch head bolt that is shoved through there, but I don't think it goes through the back. I don't remember. So let's go ahead and check. At the back of the axle, it does not go through. So I need to find a longer one that goes through. You'll see that hole kind of in the center of your screen. It is supposed to go through there, and then there's supposed to be a nut on the back of it. So let's get to that. Okay, so I jacked the front of this thing up a little bit with the 4-jack, and then I remembered I have to also find pins for those, C-clips for those tops of the spindles, because we robbed them for the dead LT1000 tow, and I have to put them back on, but we also ended up losing 2 in the process when we lost wheels. Go ahead and not watch that video if you want, but right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this bolt out. It's just on a piece of pipe on the jack right now, but if it fell, it would be falling on its own wheels, so it's good. It's not unsafe to be working on this right now. Alright guys, here's the bolt that we had before. It's pretty short. We're gonna have to find one that's at least this long before the threads. Let's go ahead and look through the bolt bin. So I didn't find any bolts bigger than this, but I did find this chunk of ready rod. Maybe we can make something out of this. Alright guys, so on this ready rod right now, it's fit through here, but going into the axle itself, it has a ton of play. So I guess we're just gonna have to put the bushing back in here and find a longer 3/8 bolt, because it's not happy right now. Okay, so I just took a look through our other bolt bin. I think this one might work. Let's go ahead and test fit. Alright guys, here's our longer bolt right here. We're just gonna test fit it. Be sure that, oops, I just shoved it through the end because there's no washer on it. So we're gonna say it sits about there. Let's look through the other side, and we can see it sticks out. So we have the proper sized bolt. Now we gotta find a nut to fit it, and a washer for this side. Actually, probably for both sides. I know it's not ideal, but this fender washer is gonna have to work for now. It's way too big, but it fits. And I know you guys probably can't see it, but there's a nut underneath there that'll work. I gotta find a washer though, I think, because it looks like it's gonna pull through. Alright, hopefully you can see better. There's a washer in there now. I might add some washers in the future between this axle and the frame, because it can still move back and forth a bit in the frame. But for right now, I'm not that fussy. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that bolt, and we're gonna be done with the whole front end, aside from steering wheel stuff, but we have parts mowers to rub that stuff off of, so we're good on that part. Alright, front axle's done. I still gotta get clips, but we'll do that when we go get stuff for that steering wheel. For now though, let's get to working on, yeah, I guess we're gonna have to work on that steering setup first, because I still have to find a drill bit for that seat. Alright guys, this double D shaft is on an LT1000 parts mower, but it doesn't want to come off the shaft, and this steering support is good, but unless I can get that off, that's going to be a problem. I found the remnants of this one. This one's kind of destroyed though, so maybe it'll work temporarily. Let's grab this too. Okay, so now that that steering support is in there, it is temporary. I have to find a washer for in here, and I realized that the washer that is right here is for in that steering wheel. So I have to take that bolt out again, take the washer out, and swap it with this one. See you then. Alright guys, there's the smaller washer in there. Here's our bigger one for our steering wheel. Hopefully it's actually the correct one. I think it is. Yeah, it fits there. Now I gotta find a 3/8 fine thread nut. Okay, I just went and looked in my parts bin. I went ahead and found a couple of these clips for the wheels. Sorry, not the wheels, the tops of the spindles. And a quick pin for the shifter. I also found this perfect steering support. So we're gonna take that destroyed one off of this one again and replace it with a good one. There's a quick pin in the shifter and clips on the spindles. Okay, so I started with a littler drill bit, a smaller drill bit, shall I say, and I have two smaller drill bits like that one. and they're both dull as can be. That is 5 minutes worth of revolutions on that drill. And it's not that deep. Like, it's only probably 2/3 of the way through this little chunk of metal. I definitely need to sharpen my drill bits. So I guess what we're gonna be doing is hooking up the electrical for this engine. This is gonna involve me pulling this fuel tank out so we can get at everything that's in the back. And then we'll put the fuel tank back in, don't worry. It's not that hard to do. Okay, so now that the fuel tank is sitting on the engine, it's not in here, we can see that there's a big open space in here. The ignition switch is a 5-pin here, and the kill switch is in back here. I'm pointing at it. And our starter relay is right here, still attached to the starter. I think I might have another electrical system that might just bolt in. When I said bolt in, I mean that's like a normal term for easy to put in. Here's just another harness that I have laying around here. Maybe we'll just use this one. Maybe we won't use this. This is a 6-pin on here, and then there's supposed to be a 7th one that comes up on there. It's a 7-pin switch, and this is a 6-pin switch, including the other switch. So it's 1 pin off. Maybe I'll go look at my other ignition switches, see if there's one that fits. I know I used to have all that stuff, so hopefully it's still in here. Here's another 5-pin, 2 starter relays. No more ignition switches. Just checking up here with my other electrical systems. Here's a big one. Here's another big ignition switch. Has a completely different pattern, both of them. And here's the wiring for them. But so far, I do not see a 7-pin switch. Oh yeah, also, in case you guys were wondering why I didn't bolt a stamped steel axle in, it is because here's what happens if you go off-roading with it. But I'm looking on Scrap Heap, just on it. These aren't out of it, but here's 2 more 7-pins. These are the correct ones. That one's out of a different mower that I built, and I know this one here does not work, but this silver one might. Let's go ahead and check. So I know that there's a way of checking these with an ohm meter, and just checking how to exactly. I don't know how, but maybe I'll be able to figure it out in a bit. If not, though, I'm pretty sure this still works, so let's put it in that frame. Okay guys, here's the 7-pin in there. We still gotta put the retaining nut on here, but it keeps just trying to cross thread on this. Maybe I had it cross threaded before? I don't know. Let's just try putting it on and see what happens. Alright guys, after a little over 12 minutes, I got it to start in the threads without cross threading. So now, I know that this isn't the wrong one, but we definitely have a 7-pin back there. So we can plug our wiring harness in, not bolt, because it's wires. But yeah, we'll plug it in and let's get to it. Click. Now we just gotta attach this ground and the starter cable. Alright folks, we just went ahead and did a little bit of off-camera work on this thing. First thing we did was stuck a nut on this steering shaft. It's a coarse thread 3/8 on a fine thread shaft, so it didn't really want to screw on that nice. Of course it's cross threading, but the steering wheel can move up and down just a tiniest little bit, but not enough to get rid of the engagement. So now it steers both tires, and the steering works good. Also, we went ahead and stuck 2 exhaust bolts in on this side and none in on that side, because one of them is broken and one of them is stripped out before I even got it. Now we need to look at where the kill wire is on this thing, because I'm not seeing it poking out from the engine, so I have to take this cover off. And we shortened the throttle up because it was on that big tall bracket before, and that was just inconvenient. Also, biggest addition, we stuck this Craftsman seat on it that we found really cheap and easy to find it, so we picked this up, bolted it up to our existing stuff, Craftsman seat brackets. We stuck a belt on it, you know, just a few little things, made sure everything was tightened up. Found that the steering box nuts bolts were very loose, so we tightened those up, and now we're working on electrical. So as you remember, we stuck an ignition switch in it and went out and bought some more keys for it, and we have the starter relay sort of mocked up, starter wire going to the starter. All that's done. Now we need to find the kill wire. Okay, so we went ahead and pulled the engine cover off. It came with the dipstick out, so you can see there's oil in that hole, which means there's oil in the engine. Let's take a look. It looks like there's a bunch of bolts in here. Like there's this one and cooling fan, and an engine mount one on this side. Yeah, I gotta clean out this stuff, so I'll probably just pull both of these covers off, and I'll show you what I find under there. Alright guys, so you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, one washer, and one little drill bit, as well as this little spring. We found all those inside just this left side of the engine. Let's take a look at the right side. Thankfully in that side there was just this bolt and this washer. Alright folks, so now that we have the engine cover back on, we noticed that the coil wire goes from underneath and for some reason ties into this charging system wiring. So the black wire right there is our kill, and we have to hook that, bring it back around, hook it up to this switch, and then hook another wire from this switch to here for a ground, or somewhere else for a ground, wherever is a good ground. We'll figure it out. And yeah, now that we have the engine cover back on, we gotta adjust the throttle cable. Okay folks, so if you guys haven't noticed so far, this cable is way too long for what our application is. So what I ended up doing on the last mower, the LT1000 that this engine was in, I hooked it up where it was around this and tightened the cable that goes between the pedal and up to here as an anchor basically, and kept that tight so that I could get throttle action down there. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that up and show you what I mean. Okay, so this thing is pretty tight. I'm gonna smash this thing to the floor. It's really tight. Why did it not move? Oh yeah, I guess it is pretty tight. So something's not right. Still not moving up here. I gotta readjust this. Okay folks, so I have it now where if I smash the throttle down, it's really stiff. It'll give it that much throttle, and if I let off, it very slowly goes back to idle. I think we're just gonna idle this thing around for the time being. Okay folks, we're just gonna go ahead and hook up the kill wire. We're just gonna let this thing idle around. Don't worry, we'll tuck this cable up in here somewhere. And yeah, we'll see you then. Oh yeah, and you guys remember how I start Beast 2, where it's just a cable off the starter and a ground, and you just boost it? For now, that's all we're gonna do with this one. If it stalls, I'm gonna have to reboost it, but we'll see how it goes. Because I would just like to get this thing running pretty quick here, and it's gonna turn into like a 2-hour video if I have to go into how all the wiring goes. So I'm just gonna leave it all unhooked basically. My kill is gonna be right here, and it's gonna go to the coil wire into a ground, hook the fuel system up, and then we're gonna go drive this thing. I realize it'll just be idling, but we're gonna go crawl some stuff hopefully. Hopefully those tires are adequate enough for climbing some sticks.
If not, we'll use off-road machine as a tow rig.
And also, we may try the mud hole, depending on how I'm feeling today. Anyways, let's get to doing that, and we will get to crawling stuff in a few minutes. This cover belongs to Rex. Wonder what that means. Alright guys, so if I mentioned that we were going to use a good ground, I guess I was wrong, because we're using this bolt with the wire going through here, hooked up to the back of the kill switch, and the other wire comes down around into this engine cover. We're just going to drop the engine cover back on, and we're going to get to fire this thing up pretty quickly. Alright guys, we have the kill wire hooked up, and we just filled the tank a little bit, probably about a quarter tank in this tank from that John Deere 111 tank, but it's red. What's this fluid? Alright guys, welcome back. We're gonna go ahead and start Beast 1 pretty quick here. Keep in mind that this thing's gonna crank for a bit because there's no gas in the carburetor. So we're just gonna crank it. Choke is on. Hopefully kill switch is off. We'll see. No. Maybe not. Is this battery stone dead? Okay, I gotta check that. Something's... Alright guys, let's go ahead and try to start it again. No fuel up to the carb yet. Go ahead and put this stuff all back up. I forgot about that. This thing is really quiet when it's on.
Yeah.
Like, really quiet. Because yeah, if it runs on brake for the first little bit. No fuel coming from the carb yet. We're driving. Folks, we're actually driving. Wonder why it died just now. She's a running good. Or not. I think she's running out of fuel. Alright guys, it was running and driving, but Ellie's just going to tow me back because I think the carburetor's gummed up a bit. It was just running on the brake clean that we were running to it. So I think it's just plugged up in there, so I'm going to clean that out and we're going to try again in a few minutes. But otherwise it was driving really nice, so that's a start. Overall though, it's been a really good build so far. Runs and drives like a champ until it dies. So let's take this carburetor apart and see what's happening. Alright folks, we found a busted off carburetor stud. I guess I've been running it this whole time that way, so oh well. Okay, well I'm getting fuel, but I see that huge black chunk, which leads me to think that there is some stuff in here. This brand new fuel filter looks pretty clear. So, and there's a pine needle floating right there, so that's cool. But yeah, I'm glad I tore into this carburetor because one pine needle and a bunch of varnish and a black thing. Looks like a chunk of fuel line, possibly. And the other one I think drained out the rest of the gas, but yeah. Okay, so we just blew this carburetor out. It's still a little bit varnished up in here, but we can't seem to get that off. So we're gonna put this thing back together and we're gonna try firing it up.